Away from the Russian invasion, we move on to other stories in the United States. 2 teenage suspects have been arrested in connection with a mass shooting at a Sweet 16 birthday party that left 4 people dead and 32 injured in Dadeville, Alabama. Dadeville police announced the arrest of 17-year-old Tyreek McCullough and 16-year-old Travis McCullough at a press conference today. The teens have been taken into custody and charged with 4 counts of reckless murder. More charges are expected to follow soon. Earlier, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency spokesman Jeremy Burkett confirmed that a couple of victims sustained injuries of various degrees during the incident.
Fatalities from the event from today. There are still 4 lives lost. 4 lives were lost in the tragic event that occurred here in Dadeville. As far as the injuries, there are 28 individuals that were injured during the course of the incident. That's 28 individuals injured during the course of the incident. Now, some of those injuries are critical. They are in critical condition. When we classify an injury, it could be, as I said, something extremely critical or serious, or it could be something as simple as they needed medical treatment, okay? So that is a wide variety of injuries that were sustained. We have been getting continuous updates throughout the day, and we are absolutely trying to confirm and understand everyone that was in the venue there near the 200 block last night. We're going through that process right now. We're going through it in a very methodical way. We're not going to rush. Central Alabama Crime Stoppers has offered a reward for any of the information, so please contact them as well. That's Central Alabama Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-833-AL1-STOP, S-T-O-P. That's 1-833-AL1-STOP, stop.
So another shooting incident, an 84-year-old homeowner in Missouri who shot a teenager after he mistakenly rang his doorbell has been charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action after authorities issued a warrant for his arrest. Andrew Lester shot and wounded 16-year-old Ralph Yao after he knocked on the door of the wrong house. Hundreds of protesters marched to the house where Yao was shot, chanting Black Lives Matter, in the state where a stand-your-ground law allows homeowners to use physical force to defend themselves against suspected intruders.
On April 13th, just before 10 o'clock p.m., officers were called to a residence where a teen was shot in front of the residence by a homeowner. The teen was transported to a local hospital for his injuries. The homeowner was taken into custody and placed on a 24-hour investigative hold. Detectives and crime scene personnel immediately responded, processed the scene, and recovered the firearm. After consulting with the Clay County Prosecutor's Office, the homeowner was released pending further investigation due to the need to obtain a formal statement from the victim, forensic evidence, and compile additional information for a case file to be presented.
Meanwhile, memories of Jim Crow's segregation laws and the feeling of an American apartheid resonated across Kansas City as community leaders gathered to demand justice for a black teen shot by a homeowner after going to the wrong house. Voices from Missouri's black community held a news conference outside the Charles Evans Whittaker Courthouse to make a case for appropriate punishment against the 84-year-old white man charged with the shooting.
I believe on last week when Ralph Yarl was shot that Jim Crow came face to face with the beauty of blackness. When he was shot last week, Jim Crow came face to face with black joy, black accomplishment, black beauty, black excellence, black innocence, black talentedness, black gifts, and simply told it, get away from here. and picked up a gun and shot it. My dear friend Dr. Howard says that we're fronting Jim Crow. I want to say to you, we are facing American apartheid. Apartheid is anytime there is separateness in the way you view another human being based on nothing but what you see. And we are tired of American apartheid. Well, somebody said it like this. Well, we come out of eras. We haven't come out of an era. We're just bringing the spotlight to what's been going on over 150 years. Stand with us. Bring your neighbors because we seek justice.
You can't hold a person accountable. That's what Lester thought was going to happen to him. We will show them different. We will be here. We will be watching, and we will be paying attention until he pays the price.
This could have been my son. This could have been my son. There are things that we need to do as a state body to rectify the prevalence of guns in our communities. There are things that we need to do to ensure that unsafe people do not have access to firearms. That's right. Come on, red flag. A couple of weeks ago, we heard legislation on anti-red flag gun laws. That's unacceptable. Last night, we passed bills in the House that would allow for firearms on public transit and in places of worship. That is unacceptable.
Our Washington correspondent, Maria Bird, joins us now for more on this. Maria, we've reported several, shooting incidents that have gone on in the United States in the last, 2-3 days. Let's start with a teenager that was shot. That's at in the Missouri case. Is he dead or alive? Give us an update on his situation.
Yes, that is, there has been no update as far as whether he's dead or alive at this time. The U.S. right now is just battling with an unprecedented number of mass shootings. We've seen 165 of these mass shootings. And as you can see, you've heard the outcries related to race. Even when you talk about the issues, even when you're looking at in the Black community, where we're seeing violence outbreaking against other Black youth. So at this time, we're still waiting for further information in that regard.
Well, it's sad that, children, teenagers cannot just, go out freely, sometimes without being assaulted, without being shot at, without being, brutalized, let me put it that way. And the case in question is one of the latest. The birthday shooting is the gun violence in the state of Alabama, a Sweet 16 party. I mean, one can just not be Sweet 16 anymore without violence being perpetrated at your event. So give us an update on that too. 4 people, I believe, died, and according to the police authorities in Alabama, about 28 people were injured. Could you give us an update on their situation as well?
Yes, as we know right now, there are about 7 or 8 or more individuals that are in pretty serious medical attention at this time. Some are even in critical condition as a result of that. There were 32 individuals actually injured in this case. And as you stated, this was a Sweet 16 party. Now, the parents have come forth and stated that there were rumors throughout the party that there was someone with a gun at the party. They said they did scour the entire party venue and did ask that if anyone there did have a gun, that they would leave immediately. And I think that is part of what I think many Americans are wondering today, is that how does someone at the 16, 17-year-old age have a gun that could cause that type of harm?
So we understand that the 16-year-old boy was identified as, Ralph Yao. That has been reported severally. He is, an African American, and the shooter was white. Could this be some sort of, racial hate crime?
Well, at this time, they have not come out with a motive. It's still under investigation, so there is not yet any statement that says that this could have been racially motivated. They are still doing investigation in that area. But I think that, as you've said before, and as we've been monitoring these cases throughout the year, we have seen quite a bit of cases that have been as a result of racial issues and divisiveness.
Well, I'm going to be back and forth here because, we have about two shootings that we're talking about. If we go back to the Alabama case, what's up with the investigation there as well? The police did say, people are in critical condition, 4 people died. So this is clearly, something akin to murder. So what's the investigation like there as well?
Well, in Alabama, the case is really looking at how did these young people get access to a gun. They're still investigating why the individuals were at the party with a gun, why they would end up shooting young people that were there to celebrate a 16th birthday party celebration. So that's, I think, where those individuals are. But let me go back for a moment. As you mentioned, you're going back and forth to the Missouri case, and you asked about it being racially motivated. Even though they have not yet released the fact that this was definitely racially motivated, when you look at the issues that are before us, and you look at the fact this is an 84-year-old man that took a gun out on a child, a young person who was trying to pick up his siblings, there's something deeper there, and it's not just about the fact that he was concerned for his life. When you talk about an 84-year-old man and a young person that was just reaching his door to see if he could pick up his siblings and happens to be at the wrong home.
Right. Lastly, Missouri's black community held a news conference outside the Charles Evans Whitaker courthouse to make, a case for appropriate punishments against the 84-year-old homeowner that shot Yao. But again, they're also making a case for having people carry guns safely, having people not, just shooting because they just feel like shooting. Now, how is U.S. President Joe Biden's call for tougher gun laws playing out here? Okay, I think we've lost Maria's audio there. Let's take out some time on the world today, still ahead on the program. Real life-size Barbie dream house debuts in the United States. Details in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. 12 people have been detained by police for questioning after a hospital fire in Beijing killed at least 29 people, most of them patients. The fire, among the deadliest in recent years, broke out in Changfeng Hospital at about 1 p.m. local time on Tuesday. Officials say a preliminary investigation shows that sparks generated during renovation works had ignited paint stored on site. Angry and concerned relatives rushed to the hospital hours later, only learning of the fire from local news reports. Many said they spent the night trying to locate loved ones. Local media reports that firefighters evacuated about 70 people and put out the flames within an hour of arriving. Those who were rescued have now been moved to another hospital for treatment. Among those detained are the director and deputy director of the hospital, as well as the head of the firm overseeing the renovation works. A 4-story parking structure has collapsed in New York City's Lower Manhattan near Pace University, killing at least 1 worker and injuring 5 others who were in the building. Emergency personnel are checking the site for any further casualties, but authorities say they believe everyone who was in the building at the time had been accounted for. Video shows multiple cars stacked on top of one another amid crumpled slabs of concrete. British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt says he wants to stick to plans to bring down inflation after Britain was the only country in the Western Europe with double-digit inflation in March. Mr. Hunt acknowledged this was a very difficult period as prices of items such as milk, sugar and olive oil were around 40% higher than a year ago. Inflation, which hit a 41-year high of 11.1% in October, continued to eat into the spending power of workers whose pay is rising by less, as the price of food and non-alcoholic drinks jumped 19.1% in March, the biggest such increase since August 1977.
To say, although our core inflation is marginally higher than other countries, Germany, for example, has higher food price inflation than we have. So this is a common problem that we're all facing. And when I talk to my colleagues at the International Monetary Fund, everyone is very clear that the UK is on the right track to focus on bringing down inflation. And if we do that, we can get through this very difficult period and make sure that we're not having the same discussion this time next year, and that we can get back to growth, which is what we want to see. We also recognise this is a very challenging period for families, and that's why the budget we introduced some very important measures like continuing the energy price guarantee at £2,500 for families, freezing fuel duty, measures that taken together are about £3,000 of support for a typical family. And if we do that, that means we can stick to the plan to bear down hard on inflation and mean that we can remove that pressure for families before we get to the end of the year. We understand the pressure that everyone is facing as a result of the increase in food prices, for example, that we see today. But the one thing they would not want us to do is to take a decision on pay that means that we entrench high inflation and we're still having these same bitter arguments in a year's time. And that's why we need to stick to our plan to bring down inflation, to reduce that pressure on the family shopping bills. And if we do that, we can get back to growth and we can get back to real terms pay increases.
More cheery news. Performers in India's northeastern Assam state have set a new Guinness World Record for the largest live group performance of Rangali Bihu festivities, comprising over 11,000 folk dancers and 2,000 drummers. A sea of folk dancers in colourful dresses filled the Sarusajai Stadium in state capital Guwahati as they performed the Bihu dance with thousands of drummers in front of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Assam Chief Himanta Biswa Sarma, and officials from the Guinness World Records. Sarma received the certificate from the Guinness World Records team for the record-making feat of the largest Bihu dance and largest dole drum ensemble. Each performer will get a participation fee of 25,000 rupees, which is $305.5. Rangali Bihu marks the end of the harvest season in the state of Assam. And finally, on the program, where are all my Barbie lovers? Well, not just girls this time, because while some may think the classic doll is only for young girls, Lucy Treadway, producer for Kilborn Live, which constructed the world of Barbie, contends this immersive experience is for all genders. Guests can explore rooms in the 20,000 square foot attraction dedicated to Barbie's careers and hobbies, as well as an assortment of doll selections that celebrate diversity. The dolls have come to represent inclusivity over the years with the message that children, no matter their background, can be anything. Fans can also buy Barbies and Barbie core accessories at the World of Barbie, with plenty of options to allow customers to fully embrace their love for the Barbie world.
This is a one-of-a-kind build. I mean, there's never been before a real life-size Barbie dream house, a real life-size Barbie camper van, and just all of the iconic things that we loved, through the years with Barbie, the world that you can actually go into, get your hands into, experience, and be a part of. I think people in LA and the surrounding, California area are super excited. We debuted Barbie in Toronto, and to see people's faces of all ages, by the way, at first people just think, oh, kids, but no, it's grown-ups too. To see people's faces when they walk in, it really is fun. I mean, their jaws hit the ground, all ages. So, and of course the little girls, and boys too, like the screams and squeals and just the excitement. It's just, it's super inspiring. I think we're really excited to be here in LA and for the first time debuting in the States. I think that, Barbie really taps into people, the message of you can be anything. And it's such a huge value for kids when they can walk into a room and see astronaut Barbie and see, all the different careers that would never dawn on a child that they could be something. And then now finally, through the decades, Barbie became, like we said, she changed. There was more inclusivity and to represent everybody. And that's really who Barbie is. She represents everybody and kind of inspiring them to say, you can be anything. The world is craving the Barbie spirit right now, and that the Barbie energy is around. And, I think everyone's feeling it. It's fun, right? It feels good.
Well, that's our program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jogga Rogers. Bye for now.